Welcome to the Shepherd Podcast. I'm your host. I'm Pastor Chris. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. The podcast is a way that we like to introduce you to people in our ministry here at Shepherd of the Hills, our church, school, and childcare. A lot of great people for you to get to know. And I'm very excited in just a moment to introduce you to today's guest. His name is Aaron Bielefeldt. You may be familiar with his parents, Pastor Doug and Nancy. He has a brother, Ryan. Aaron is married to Brooke. They have 3 children, Talia, Luke, and Clara. And Luke and Clara are my kids' ages, and they've always been good buddies on Saturday night, so we have a special connection with the family in many ways. We want to talk to you today about living a healthier lifestyle. Aaron owns 2 gyms, and that'll be a big part of our conversation, and we'll lead into some practical things at the end. So I'm very excited today to welcome my guest, Aaron Bielefeldt. Aaron, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let's start out by talking about health and fitness. And I'm curious, how did this become a passion for you, living a healthy lifestyle, being fit? Where did that all start?
It started with my parents. Everyone knows my mom and my dad here, but they were very avid in health and fitness in some capacity growing up for us. And so the influence from them was huge, and they had us in sports at a very, very young age. And so it's just been something that has been ingrained in me to be physically active. I played practically every sport growing up. And so, you know, when you're kind of trying to figure things out in your life as you get past that, okay, I'm high school, college, and what am I going to do? And it's the only thing that's really given me purpose that I feel like with what I can give to others and what I can provide for others. And so we each, I think, have our sort of a little bit of a calling, and you know, you go through some stuff as you're maturing, and you know, for me, that was the one thing that always kind of kept me grounded here with my life, and so it was a place that I felt very comfortable with, in whether it was the gym, on any sort of field, any, you know, even if it was playing basketball, playing flag football, whatever it is, even after I was done with my competitive days of sports, it just was something that I just was very, very good with. I love people. I love helping people. And so it's just been a really, it's been a really good thing for me to have the ability to share my passion with staying active and being healthy. And so I was blessed to find, CrossFit. The two gyms I own are CrossFit gyms. And so I was blessed to find that, and really was able to take, I think, all those years of this, you know, my passion and desire to, you know, sort of have that competitiveness, but also to want to be the healthiest I possibly could be. And so now I'm able to pass that on. And so that's really my background on how I got into it. I love helping people. I love being around people. And if I get to do it while doing something that I love personally, it's pretty incredible. And I'm extremely blessed.
Now, you mentioned CrossFit. Now, you've been very active in CrossFit competitions. What are some of the things that you've done, some notable things with CrossFit, and what are you doing currently? Yeah,
so I've been doing CrossFit. It was interesting. Before, it was a part of what's referred to as an affiliate. And for those that may not know, an affiliate is a gym that has an affiliation through CrossFit, so that way we can use the name CrossFit. So we're specific CrossFit gyms, a little bit smaller, more of a boutique style, versus the larger gyms that a lot of people know, which is, you know, Gold's Gym or Lifetime, stuff like that. So we're a little bit smaller, but much more intimate, much more organic. But before I ever got into an affiliate, I was kind of doing it on my own, kind of grassroots, just going through things that I had seen online and following. And so I fell in love with it, and I was like, man, I can't work out any other way. Like, this is the way that I want to go. And then you start seeing the positive effects that it has. And so then I got into an affiliate, and you know, so I've been doing CrossFit now. I want to say it's almost 14 years. It was like right before my wife and I got married, which was in 2008. And so it was just before then. So it's been about 14 years that I've been actively involved in CrossFit. Got into an affiliate and just realized how special an affiliate was, an actual gym was, with like-minded people. And I've seen day after day what it's done for people and how it helps them. And so I decided in 2013 with my brother, with Ryan, to go ahead and start our own gym. And so we did that. And so many years later, 5 years later, I started another gym, and I've been blessed to be a part of that. But that's how I started within the gyms. And as far as competitiveness, that or the competitive side of CrossFit, that is something that I want to make it clear what that part is versus what we do day to day is a lot different.
Okay.
Right? And so majority of the people that come in my gym are not looking to do the competitive side of it. I think it's just like anything else though. People turn that into a real hobby. Right. And so they like to do maybe local competitions that are relatively small in comparison to some of the things that I've been fortunate enough to go and do. But I do want to make it clear that it's 99% of the people that go into the gyms are not looking to compete or looking to turn it into a sport. Right. They're doing it for the health reasons, for the fitness reasons. Right. Me and myself, I kind of got in early with a lot of the competition side of it. And so it takes years of practice and skill, just like any other sport, to get on that level or to be that level. And even then it may just not work out. So I'm fortunate that I think a lot of it came from my, drive of playing competitive sports for so long and sort of the dedication. And then, my brother and I are we've been blessed with some genetic gifts that's helped us and we run with those and use that to work hard. But that was a big part of what kind of is enabled us to do that. Now, personally, I've been all the way to what's considered the highest level of CrossFit, which is the CrossFit Games. And so a lot of people recognize that from TV. It was on ESPN for a number of years. Now it's on CBS Sports. They've got a contract there. Wow. So most of the people that see that part of or know that part of CrossFit, that's how they know it.
Is that the one out in California?
That it was in California. Now it's in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And so what you see in the California, and you see these big athletes, and you see all these strong men and women, and it seems very intimidating. That's that right there. And so that's the hard part, because I love that side of it, because that's something that I've been so fortunate to be a part of. But I understand when people see that, it's like, oh, I can't do that, and it's understandable. So there is that part where we have to make sure that we separate the two. But I was a part of that. I went with the first gym, or my first gym, Ballistic CrossFit. We went as a team. So there's a individual side and a team side, and I went in 2014 with a couple members of the gym, and then I was able to go as an individual in 2017, which was in Wisconsin. So it was 1 year was in Los Angeles, California, Carson, California, and then was in Madison, Wisconsin these last 4 years now. And so I was blessed to be able to do both of those. Yeah.
How'd you place?
So with the team deal, we were in the top 30 out of 50 teams, around 30th. And then I was fifth in the world in 2017.
Fifth in the world?
Fifth in the world for my age category. I was 35 to 39. And so there was, there's probably almost 20, I think, number of masters that signed up was probably at that time around 30 to 40,000. So finished fifth. Wow. So that was kind of a cool. I'm going to hold my hat on that for a lot longer than I probably should, right? But yeah, that was like the peak for me, is to get to that level and to be there. And so it was pretty cool. And so
what about Ryan?
So Ryan went on the team. He was a member of the team, and he's done regional competitions for CrossFit Games, which means that's the qualifying process. So he was at the qualifying process of getting to the game. So he was very close. Yeah, cool. He's a little bit younger than me, so he's not in that age group thing yet, and that's obviously helpful. But but he's on a very high level as well. And so his competing days are a little bit, I think I would say a little bit behind him now. He still is in the gym every single day, but I have a little bit more of that desire to still continue. And as long as, I feel like I'm able to do it, and it keeps me happy, and it doesn't interfere with anything else, I will continue to do it.
Can you tell us the story of the gym then? How did the gym get started? What made you want to start it? Just the story there. Yeah.
So, just deciding if, I had another job at the time, and deciding if I wanted to pursue that as far as a long-term, is just something that you want to do, because it's not just, you think everyone thinks, oh, if you run a gym, you just get to work out all day.
Right.
And that's
a business.
Yeah, it's a business. And so there's far from it. You've got classes, you've got personalities, you've got coaches, you've got schedules, you've got bills, you've got insurance, you've got all kinds of things. Right. And so I was blessed and fortunate to be given the opportunity. And so Ryan and I had to make that decision. We were with another affiliate, and we had to make that decision to, is this something that we want to do? And so, we were both happy with where we were at, but at that time, the timing just seemed like if we don't do this now, we may not ever be able to do this. Okay. And so that's really how it was created, is that, in that 2013 CrossFit, I would say that was on a real big boom as far as you saw a lot of gyms. And so I just didn't want to pass up that opportunity, because we had gained so many friends and so many colleagues and so many people that were really huge into supporting us, and, not only as far as competitiveness, but loved what we brought to our teaching and classes and stuff. And so they were, San Antonio it's a big city, but it's not. It's a massive city. In the sense of population, but it feels like sometimes it's a very, very small, almost a small town feel. And so we like our community. And so that was something that I ultimately looked at as like, is this something that I want to do as a career, knowing that some of the things that I've done in the past, I'll have to sacrifice. And so the decision was made that yes, this is something that I want to do, and I've never looked back since that time, and I'm grateful, and I feel fortunate that I've gotten to help so many people and meet so many people, and I think that's the biggest thing is just meeting so many cool people and so many personalities and so many walks of life that have come into both gyms now, and so they've enriched my life and enriched my family's life. So.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to visit with you. There was an interesting point in recent times when the CEO of CrossFit said some things that were racially insensitive and really a lot of controversy around that. And you had a very tough decision to make, which was, do we stay affiliated with CrossFit? Do we become an independent gym? Yep. Can you tell us that story and then how it all ended up?
Yeah, absolutely. So the former now CEO of CrossFit, the methodology and what he brought with CrossFit was second to none. It is what it is, and he was a brilliant guy, and I still am very appreciative of a lot of the things that he brought and what was there. And so there was just some very divisive comments that passed through from him through social media that were not well thought out and not probably a little bit emotion driven. It was in the middle of the pandemic. At that point when the comments were made and were released, we still as gyms were closed down. We were on the list of businesses being closed, and obviously, and so my gym wasn't open, and so tense times, very tense times. And you had some things in the world that were going on socially, and so the timing was pretty poor. And he's come back and admitted that it was a mistake, and ultimately it was just too hard for him to overcome. Yeah, and so eventually he did have to sell the company, and so before he did that, I had I was put in a tough position because I have to pay, annually we have to pay an affiliation fee, which I've always been happy to do. And we've had to pay that affiliate fee, and that was up. And I didn't know what the best decision to make was based off of a couple of things. That obviously was a very, very, very big deal that was hard to see, and had many friends and other gym owners that I was close with that were kind of faced with the same thing. So as a group, we discussed it, and it was a hard decision to make at the time. I really wanted to see some changes, and not only that, some of the support system and the way that they were supportive of affiliates was a little lacking at the time. And so there were some things that fundamentally as an organization that I think we were waiting for them to do that we never saw those changes. And then that insensitivity coming through was just really hard for me to stick with it. And so I ultimately had to make that decision. We were actually, there was a new gym that we were looking at doing, and moving facilities and kind of changing up some things, and so it just kind of went hand in hand with that branching away. So we kind of moved from one phase to another. It was kind of that transition, and our hopes were, and one of the things that we were hoping would do is not to cause any more divide or make some sort of statement necessarily toward us. Was just, hey, I don't want to do this if it doesn't make sense and I don't want it to affect my community anymore. Right. We already have a hard time sometimes, from any fitness, any gym. It's hard to get people in because it's health and fitness, and there's so much out there, so many options and so many things to choose from. And so we just didn't want to make it any harder on ourselves than what we felt like it was already, at times can be. And so we made that decision. And since that time, he stepped down, sold the company to another gentleman. And he's now running the company, and this group's running the company, and they've done a fantastic job. So since that time, we've reaffiliated.
Okay.
And so we're back with CrossFit, and so there's been a lot of positive changes, a lot of things that have come about that are, that make me feel really good about our decision to come back. And I love CrossFit. I always do. The methodology and what's behind it, and just what they, what their purpose is and what their focus and trying to accomplish. I've always agreed with that and loved it. And so I feel like there's a lot more support for us as affiliates now. I feel like there's a lot more support for the community. And so I'm happy that we've made that decision to stick with them or move back with them. So we currently are back in being affiliated. So
I imagine that was a very stressful time.
Yeah, it
Not
was.
Just that issue, but COVID affected your business.
Oh man, that was
tremendously.
Absolutely. And I mean, God bless all of our members. It was a really cool call to action on our end, because we literally were hearing, rumors and things about, hey, we're going to shut down.
Right.
To, well, it's just going to be a reduced capacity or whatever it is, to all of a sudden, hey, we're shut down. And it's going to be shut down for a little while now. Yeah. And then, like everyone else, you don't know how long that's going to be. Right. So a call to action on our part was we rented out all of our equipment to our members. And so we limited how much they could take, but enough to, hey, in your garage for these next whatever. And we had no idea how long it was going to be for. This is in March, and it lasted all the way till May 18th was when we were able to go back. So
That's a long time.
So I was running classes out of my garage, doing what we refer to as limited equipment, understanding that people didn't have the full array of what we normally have in our gym. And so I was doing these little 30, 45-minute classes in hopes that people would just kind of stick around. And it was one of those deals where I don't think we would have made it one more month if we had to, where, it was hard. But God bless all of our members. They stayed paying. They supported. They knew the situation we were in. And so, whenever we opened back up, everybody was back in. Obviously, we were back in at a reduced capacity, so some waited a little longer, and then we had to kind of change up the schedule and how we did things, spacing, cleaning protocols, things like that. Right. So it was different, but slowly we've worked back to now where we can be at our full capacity. I'm happy to say either one of the gyms did we have a COVID case that came directly from the gym, to my knowledge.
Great.
And so I'm thankful for everyone for taking it very serious and allowing us to keep it a safe and, positive place. So,
that was a creative solution to work through that. The renting out of the equipment.
Yeah. And it wasn't, I can't take credit. Most gyms did that, and I think that was a really cool collective deal across across the country,
right,
in the world for what I know of doing that. And again, I'm blessed to know a lot of other affiliate owners across the country. And so to know that they were doing the same thing and kind of going through the same stuff was nice to have that support system.
Yeah.
So,
well, I want to take a real practical turn in our conversation now, and we want this to be an interview that's not only interesting but useful to our audience.
Sure.
And so today we wanted to talk about some tips for healthier living.
Yeah.
And would love to just hear from you some suggestions that you have for, anybody who might be listening.
Yeah.
How can you have a healthier lifestyle?
Yeah. So, I obviously own a CrossFit gym, and so I love CrossFit. I understand that maybe not everyone is quite ready to move into any gym environment. So biggest tip, there's a lot of things that you can do, but just trying to keep it as simple as possible is it starts with just your choices. And number one would be your choices in what you're eating and your nutrition. And so we kind of always look at this pyramid of, and not the food pyramid, but a pyramid, a foundation of what you should do in your life. Okay. And the base of whatever you're doing should always start with nutrition, right? Okay. And so that would be my biggest tip for anyone, is to start with what you're eating.
So you don't have to be a fitness person to take care of the biggest part of the pyramid, which is nutrition.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. And so that would be my number one tip, is to start looking at what you're eating. You don't have to be, and we live in a world now where there's so much information, right? You've got almost too much information.
Yeah.
But there's some really good places, some really good resources out there on just how to go about making some simple changes. And so a lot of the simple changes is keeping things as simple as you can. And so, your addition by subtraction, just taking little things out of your diet, I don't want to get too far into it as far as, because that could be its whole conversation on nutrition.
Can you give me some basic categories? Like what kind of stuff in general do you want in your diet and what do you want out?
Absolutely. So the biggest thing is we try to get people away from processed foods.
Okay.
And so processed foods, a really good rule of thumb is when you go to the grocery store, stay on the outside of the grocery store.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So stay on the outside the grocery store. It's a very simple thing. So a lot of it is just eating real foods, right? You're just eating real stuff. Okay. Getting rid of a lot of the, the sodas and those carbonated drinks that aren't the best for us. And so if we can even just simply by reducing, for a lot of people, it's very hard just to make this real, line in the sand deal where it's, okay, now I just got to take everything completely out. So it may just be, instead of drinking the X number of sodas a day, cut it down, cut it in half, or cut it to one a day.
Sure, make it realistic.
Make it realistic on yourself. And so that would be the starting point. And so what you end up realizing and seeing is, okay, I can do this. And so it's this baby steps of things.
Can I ask you, what have you eaten today?
What have I eaten today? Yeah. Oh man. So so I'm very much a creature of habit, especially when it comes to my diet. Yeah. So, this morning I had egg whites, some sliced turkey. I had a banana, and then I had some vegetables. I had some bell pepper, and I had some avocado. So
that sounds good.
Yeah. That
doesn't sound nasty to me.
No, it sounds
delicious.
good, and you can make it. You can get very creative on your foods. Yeah. There are a number of meal planning services now. There is a couple places that do prep kitchen work, prep foods, so you can go in and they have the meals already made up for you. So we live in a world now where things are so readily available at our fingertips. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more healthy restaurants.
Sure.
Yeah, I would say stay away from the fast food as much as we can. It's hard when you got kids. I get it, because that's all they want. And,
right.
And so you can attest to this. One of the hardest things for me is just getting my kids to eat food, right? And so I want them to eat what I want them to eat, and what they end up eating are two totally different things sometimes. Right. And so the hard thing for me is passing that along to my kids to make sure that they're eating sensibly, and then whenever they don't eat sensibly or they bring stuff home, that I don't get into that stuff, right. Going to a birthday party or going right. here, or their nana and grandpa bringing them food home, and then me having to test my will and throw it away right. as they finish, instead of me finishing it off for myself. But and then the other thing with nutrition is that one meal is not the worst thing, right? So if you get into a routine and a habit of making healthier choices, that one bad meal, or even if it's one meal a day or a full day, isn't the end of the world, right? We're all human, and so it's okay to live your life. If you go to an event or you go to a dinner and options are what they are, you do it, right? Don't become so to the point where if I don't do it exactly right, then I failed. And then, because I see that for a lot of people, is they get the mindset of if I don't, and so it's okay. You're going to make mistakes along the way, right? And so the biggest thing is if you can just make a healthy overall change, where the majority of the time you're eating healthier and making better decisions, you're going to notice a lot of changes and a lot of things that you're doing, and then you're going to be motivated, I think, to want to work out more, because you see this increased energy. You see this willingness to be like, okay, this is now motivating me to maybe make this next step, right? Okay.
So the base of the pyramid's in nutrition. As we work our way up the pyramid, what else?
Absolutely. So the base of, and going back to kind of what you talked about with me about the sport part of it, the CrossFit, that's the very top, right?
That's the top.
Yeah, that's the tip of it, right? Okay. So that's a very small portion. So if you break down the layers of this pyramid, that's it, nutrition. And so then you move into and kind of keeping it very basic, but just simple movement. Just moving, right? So that would be my next tip is It doesn't matter what you do, start something. Maybe it's walking, right? Start by walking. I'm gonna 3 times a week I'm gonna walk a mile an evening, and then just start there. And so much of the time that people feel like, hey, I have to, if I'm gonna do this, I got to go all in.
Right.
And that might not be the best recipe for someone, right? Right. So maybe it's just moving a little bit, get a bike. Oh, I'm riding a bike, or I'm just something simple as walking, Okay. I'm not even going to promote my gym. There's a lot of gyms with a lot of, I support anyone that goes to any gym. One of my favorite things to do is to see people that are out walking, right? Or out jogging. Do they have perfect form? Are they going slow? Maybe, but that's not the point, right? And so I think that's something where I'm so encouraged when I see them, because I know that who knows how long it took for that person to get to that point to even do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so I get really encouraged by that, because there's a battle for a lot of people in getting started, right? Now I will say, getting into a place where you're going to have a little bit of motivation is always helpful, like keeping yourself to a schedule. So one of the great things about the gym, at least our gym, is that when we have a class schedule, and they're group classes, that if you go, that we're going to kind of take care of it for you. The biggest thing is, if you show up, we're gonna work. You're gonna work, right? You're gonna come in. You're gonna do the class. You're gonna get coached. You're gonna get in. We're gonna modify like crazy for everyone. That's what we always do. But that accountability is helpful for a lot of people. Okay. And so, just trying to start simple and don't set too big of goals too early. Okay. And just get yourself going, and then it's amazing. Hey, a couple weeks of this, then it's a couple months, and then you just keep progressing. And so. Sure. Yeah, that to me is obviously I talked about the eating and stuff is super important, but as you get started moving, as long as you're moving, as long as you're going, and it doesn't matter how simple it is, it compounds and it keeps going. And so if you can find that spark to get started, mm-hmm. You'd be amazed at what can happen. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So we were talking nutrition, movement. Is there anything else that you would want our people to hear?
Yeah, and that goes into being as consistent as you can. Yeah, just now the last thing is just being consistent. And so I pride myself on always being consistent. I'm almost probably too consistent in the sense that I don't, maybe not as flexible as I should be, and that's just a knock on myself, right? But when it comes to working out consistency, whether it's, again, starting with that walking, I'm going to go 3 days a week, I'm going to go 2 days a week. Be consistent. Okay. It doesn't matter if you have a setback. It doesn't matter if you get sick. It doesn't matter if you have, work issues, right? Be consistent. One of the amazing things that I've learned about working out or owning a gym and working out myself and then passing that on to others is the physical part of working out is amazing, but the psychological part of it is what I've seen. It's mm-hmm. such a release for people. All this, countless times I see somebody and I can when you see someone day after day and you see people that you become close and familiar with, whenever you have a rough day, you know this, you see it in their body language, you see it in their face, right? You see it, and so you know that they're stressed. And so to see them after the workout's over, mm-hmm. and to see that kind of that release, and you see how much different they feel, you know that that's something that's helping them, right? Because who knows what they're going through. There's so many people are going through, everyone's going through something, and to what degree it's different. But to know that they have maybe that hour a day or whatever time that they spend, maybe it's 30 minutes, but when they have that time to have for themselves to de-stress, and just kind of release some stuff and distract their mind, but also you're getting healthy, you're getting fit. I mean, to me, I've learned it's become so much more beneficial from a psychological standpoint than even a physical standpoint. But being consistent is, okay. That consistency is built obviously over time, but just that willingness to just, okay, hey, it's going to be tough, it's going to be challenging at time, mm-hmm. but if I get that setback, just keep moving forward. So it's just, but that would be a simple way for me to encourage you. And I start with the nutrition, the kitchen stuff, just because that's something that you're at your house, right? Your home, right? You have to eat, right? Our food is our fuel, like that. Mm-hmm. That's what it's meant to be. So mm-hmm. that's where it has to start there. I don't care if you're a professional athlete or a stay-at-home mom or, a single college student, you've got to have, food is important. You got to have some sort of, guidance there.
Right. So that's all very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have one more topic, and with the topic, 2 questions, one a fun question and one a more serious question. So the fun question is, and this was submitted anonymously by a member of our congregation, who's taller, you or your dad?
Man. He's taller. Okay, so, but here's what I'll say. It's because of his hair.
Okay,
so,
all right.
So it's just the way it pushes his hair back, and I'm fairly confident that's why he does that. No, my dad's taller. He's taller, but I'm taller than my brother, and that's all that matters.
Okay, so, that's what matters. All right, very good.
No, but he is taller.
And then the more serious question is, we're filming this just a few months away from your dad's retirement. What are your thoughts on your dad retiring?
So kind of crazy. I don't feel like I'm getting old or older. Like I still feel very young at heart. But I'll be 40 next year, and that's weird. And so if I'm getting 40, then my dad, he's obviously older than I am. And so you think about these things when you're growing up I remember when my grandparents were a certain age, and now my dad's those ages that I can, or my mom and dad are those ages that I can remember my grandparents being. And so, so it was one of those things where obviously the time has to come. And so it'll probably hit me, I guess, more once he's actually fully retired. And if you know my dad, though, like, he's not going to stop moving.
He won't sit still.
No, he's not.
No.
So even though it's like, it's funny because it's like, oh, your dad's retired, and granted he won't be here, that doesn't mean he's not going to be, like, my dad's just not going to stop, and so that's one thing that I'm I will never, I don't think I'll ever be able to match that work ethic and what he's been able to do. And I've seen it for so long from him that it's like, man, I don't know where he gets the energy from sometimes, I mean, it's inspiring and it's motivating.
Well, it looks to me like the work ethic runs in the family.
Well, a little bit, but if you would see, we get to see, or we've seen a lot of a different side of my dad, as every child sees their parents in a different, light than what the world sees them. Right. I'm, kind of a funny story, and I was in College Station at the time that my dad took a call on to become a pastor, because I think most everybody knows my dad was not a pastor all of my life. Right. It wasn't until I was in college. So I'd gone through high school, left San Antonio, and I get a call one morning on like a Tuesday or Wednesday morning saying my dad was thinking about becoming a pastor, going through that, that path. And I knew my dad as this guy that worked for USA for many, many years, right? And so I knew my dad as my coach. I knew my dad as this certain person. So I didn't know my dad as that. So it was strange to me, and not in a negative way, right? It was strange to me to see that he was going to do that. And I kind of had some questions of like, well, why the timing now? And there's a lot of things I just didn't understand. And so I thought back to a time where my dad, when he was little, that he thought he was going to be a pastor. That's once, and I'm not sure if he shared that with you, but he had a very close relationship with the pastor of at the church that they were at. Mm-hmm. And so that's what my dad for a long time said. And I think it was something where the longer I thought about it and then seeing it unfold and take place, that I wish he would have done it a lot sooner. I'm just incredibly proud of that he's gotten to this point where he feels fulfilled enough to say, okay, I've done enough with this, that I can retire, and I'm proud of him. It's just weird because I just know my dad, and it's just weird to think that, okay, he's not going to work anymore, because that's all I know with my dad is just, wake up, let's go. And then, he's gets up in the middle of the night to finish writing something, or, he had a thought about this, so he's got to fix this or whatever. And so I don't know how he's going to turn that off. And I don't want him to. The one thing that I think is kind of cool, and, my parents are amazing grandparents. They're incredible to the kids. And so I am looking forward to hoping that he can take a lot of that energy and use a lot of that time now, more time to spend with the grandkids, especially just as they're getting a little bit older, now. And so I'm really excited to see that relationship continue to take off with the kids, with Luke and Clara. And so I know it's going to be one of those things where I'm probably have to say, all right, Dad, I'm going to need to take the kids now, because he just, he wants to do things. He wants to go and do those things. And so I'm happy to see that relationship continue. But I'm just really proud of everything that he's done. And it's going to be different having him retired and not be here. But I know the timing's right. And I know that it's bittersweet, but he's ready.
I appreciate your reflections on that. It's interesting to hear from your perspective.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah,
a lot of fun stuff. That's another thing we can continue talking for a long time on. But yeah. So.
Well, it's been a great conversation, Aaron. I thank you so much for your time and especially for the practical things you shared, but also opening up about your experience with the gym and with CrossFit and with your family. So thank you very much for your time today, Aaron.
Glad to be here. Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching and listening. I know you got a lot out of this one, and hopefully you'll implement some of the things that you learned today about health and fitness, nutrition. Until next time, the Lord's blessings to you. May He keep you healthy and safe. And I'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode. God's blessings to you today.